I echo what Rich has been saying. I've been waiting for this show since Championship Sunday, and I have been waiting to get your take on what happened with Jay Cutler over the weekend.
I have a couple of takes on that, and one is that I've been in football, for over 50 years. I've never questioned a player's toughness. I never have, and whether it was in coaching, broadcasting, or whatever. But I want to tell you something. This whole thing of demeanor and stuff you're talking about, that there's no one in the NFL that has a tougher job to do than Jay Cutler. I think playing quarterback in the NFL is the toughest thing you can do. I think throwing a forward pass and having guys rushing you and hitting you when you're looking downfield and throwing the ball is the toughest act that you have to do. Now, that's what Jay Cutler does. Now, the other part is Jay Cutler is a type 1 diabetic. So during that game, he has to manage the game. He has to manage everything that he's doing. Plus, he has to manage diabetes. Now, we're talking about type 1 here, where he's insulin dependent. We're not talking about, I know my uncle has diabetes. No, this is type 1. And what you do is they don't have a cure for it. And your pancreas doesn't really produce insulin. So they have a pump now that can help. I mean, they're making strides. And they have a pump that you can wear that can monitor your sugar levels and then can put insulin in you. Jay Cutler cannot wear the pump during the game. So he has to manage that himself. And he has to test himself, and then he has to administer insulin to himself. And it's a thing. If you get excited, you produce adrenaline. And then when you produce adrenaline, you get a false sugar high. Exercise gives you a low. Exercise will bring you down. So he's fighting that the whole time. And then people are looking at him. They put a camera on him, and they say that, they don't like his demeanor. Demeanor, hell. You have something to think about. No, live a day in his shoes. That it's not diabetes, type 1 diabetes is not a daytime thing. It's not a week thing. It's not a month thing. It's a life thing. And it's every day. And it's every day for 24 hours. And you have to monitor it at all times. So to play and monitor your glucose and give yourself insulin during a game, try not to get too high because you get a false blood sugar. And as you go out there and play, you're going to get a low. And then someone look at them and not like their demeanor and realize that this guy is a role model. He's a role model to kids that have diabetes.
Hey, Coach, I want to follow up with that. I know it's a very sensitive subject, but the thing that really bothered me more than anything was when analysts and fellow players, from our National Football League, felt the need to tweet and text and get in front of the camera and criticize a guy when they weren't even there. Just your thoughts on what's going on, since then from fellow players around the National Football League.
Well, that was the thing that surprised me and kind of disappointed me in that players always say that people that criticize, they don't know. And unless you're there, you really don't know. And you've said that as a player, Rich. I've said that as a coach, Adam. You know that. You've heard that you don't know. You're not there. You don't know what's going on. And you would think that players would know that. The players would say, "Hey, I'm not there. I really don't know." And then to read, and I just had a little rant there on the diabetes and the demeanor part. But on the toughness part, I have the same thing. I know Jay Cutler. He's a tough guy, and I just think, it was a big stage, and to have that happen is a bad thing. But again, like I said, he's a role model to kids that have diabetes, juvenile diabetes, and to have him say that he's not tough, man, you're wrong.
John, I thought that was just an unbelievable and spot-on and passionate rant. Let me ask you something, and, I feel almost crazy asking you this as a Hall of Fame coach, and, I think it's a crazy era right now in the NFL with, as Rich mentions, all the social media and the instant reaction and what we see on a broadcast and then what players and everyone's saying. Is there anything the Bears could have done to help the situation? Do you have an issue with Cutler being on the sideline? Should he have been in the locker room? Could the Bears have helped quell this firestorm?
I think that's one of the things that has to be considered. I think there's a time when a player, you're checking them out. You can't give the information too quickly because you're not sure what it is. But once you determine that the guy is injured or concussed or whatever it may be, and he's out, he's done for the day, I think you have to let everyone know. And I think that that we're gonna that's part of the culture. Has always been, don't give your opponent any advantage. Don't let him know what's going on. Don't let him know if the guy's going to play or not. And I think, that's part of it. I mean, I've been there. I've done that. I know that. But on the other side, I think that it has to be that if the guy is done, to let everyone know that he's out. The doctors said he's out. The trainer said that he's out and he can't play anymore. And I think they should let everyone know.
John, I think the thing that bothered me was that people, just because they saw him standing on the sidelines. I mean, I've torn my ACL, and you can walk and you can stand. And I mean, because we heard some people say, well, they should have kept him in the locker room. I mean, here's a guy that's a team guy, and I talk about toughness, and you talk about it, Coach. Here's a guy, when you go back and you study him over the last 4 years, playing that position, he's missed one game because of a concussion. And when he's one of the captains, one of the leaders in that team, the last thing he wants to do is sit in the locker room and watch the second half on the television. He wants to be out there with his teammates on the sidelines.
Yeah, he does. And the thing is that's the thing now. These cameras go everywhere, and then you see a picture, and then you try and translate what that picture is saying, and then now you have social media, and you can put it all over, and I mean, that's not going to, I heard you talking to Kirk Morrison, and he said, the Super Bowl is going to get bigger, and it's going to be more of it. And, I mean, that's probably something that is going to be with us from now on, where people are watching and seeing a picture or two, and then making a judgment on it.
John, I'm curious. You just gave a great passionate rant. And I said this to Rich earlier in the week, and Rich said this to me. And, Rich does the games for CBS, and we've interviewed Cutler on Sirius a bunch of times. We interviewed Cutler last week, and he was outstanding. I think that there's an anti-Jay perception out there. Now, I only know what I know, okay? I can only talk about my firsthand experience interviewing him in person, interviewing him on the phone. Frankly, I find him intelligent, insightful. I think that he speaks his mind, doesn't talk in cliches. I enjoy interviewing Jay Cutler. But I think that, he rubs people the wrong way. Do you think if this was somebody else that they would have gotten the benefit of the doubt? Do you think the criticism was because maybe with fans, media, or as we learned, former players and current players, maybe he's just not likable?
I don't know. I mean, haven't you always felt in life that people are a lot tougher sitting on the couch in their underwear than they are in the field?
Sure.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that.
Yeah. So if you were Chicago,
people think they know, and they don't know. They don't know. Like I said, live one day with it.
Yeah.
And see what it's like, and then judge it.
See, and I want to get your take, John, on this, because I mentioned this to Rich, and you heard us talk to Kirk Morrison about this as well. I said if I was the Chicago Bears, in a private moment, maybe in the summertime, I would talk to Jay about maybe how he deals with the media or his demeanor. And I loved your line, hell with demeanor.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, demeanor. I mean, he's a type 1 diabetic.
Right.
I mean, this is a terrible, terrible, terrible disease, and he has it. So that's what he's dealing with. And you're going to talk about his demeanor. What, you want him to smile more? You want him to, and maybe he's not. I mean, I always liked him, and I interviewed him too, and he's one of the most honest players, in all the years that I did television. He's one of the most honest players that I ever talked to. Maybe too honest in his talking, but some things, Adam, you can't change. Believe me, you just can't. And I think you're trying to make a phony out of someone that's not a phony. I mean, that's Jay Cutler. Take him or leave him. That's what. I mean, he's dealing with some issues, and you either take it or you leave it. But I don't think there's any way some PR guy is going to change it.